What would you think if I told you that a man can be captivated not by your beauty, your kindness, or even your body, but by the parts of himself he doesn't understand, and that you unknowingly awaken in the dim corridors of his psyche, where shame sleeps and longing whispers? You become the mirror, not the gentle, flattering kind, but the ancient obsidian glass that reflects the parts he buried, denied, forgot. He doesn't know why your presence rattles him, why your silence feels like thunder, why your disapproval carves through his chest like ancestral judgment. But he feels it, viscerally. You've touched something sacred and terrifying in him. You've awakened his shadow. He doesn't know it yet, but he's falling. Not for you, not exactly, but into you, into the projection of everything he cannot face in himself. And the deeper he falls, the less he understands why you consume his thoughts like firewood beneath flame. This is the hidden seduction, not of lust or romance, but of unconscious magnetism, of energies older than time, playing themselves out through two modern bodies pretending to be in control. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is the repressed self. Those impulses, desires, fears, and instincts the ego refuses to claim. For men, this shadow often contains the wounded boy, the unexpressed rage, the needy vulnerability he was taught to suffocate. And when he meets a woman rooted in her depth, who speaks without apology, who smiles with sadness in her eyes, who sees through masks without needing to tear them off, his shadow stirs. She becomes its vessel, not because she tries, but because she exists with gravity, because she is not afraid to feel what he cannot. This isn't about manipulation or control. This is archetypal, mythological. It is the ancient alchemy between the masculine and the feminine, playing out once again on the battlefield of human connection. When a man falls into your shadow, he begins a war within himself, one he cannot name. He might call it love. He might call it obsession. But it is neither. It is the aching return of all he left behind. He finds himself drawn to your chaos, though he claims to crave order. Your moods, your silence, your softness that turns to steel without warning. It all intoxicates him. Not because you are confusing, but because you activate what he has split away. You remind him that life is not safe, that feeling is dangerous, that surrender is power. Have you seen it? The way he stares too long when he thinks you're not looking. The way he recoils from tenderness as if it might burn him. The way he picks fights over trivial things just to feel a sense of control again. These are not random behaviors. These are signs. He is falling into your shadow, and his ego is unraveling with every step. The feminine, in its fullest expression, is not here to soothe his ego. It is here to dissolve it, to awaken the parts of him that can no longer survive beneath the weight of performance. You are not just a woman in his story. You are the archetypal dark moon, the initiator, the reminder that the soul is never truly at peace when it's divorced from its wholeness. And yet, this journey is not yours to finish. You are the door, the threshold, the mirror. It is his responsibility to walk through or to run away. So many women take on the task of healing the men they attract, believing it is love. But this is not your burden. You are not his therapist, his mother, his priestess of redemption. You are the storm that reveals the fault lines. Let that be enough. The man falling into your shadow does not love you clearly. He loves what you show him. He loves the freedom he glimpses through your unapologetic emotion. He loves the rage you allow yourself to feel. The same rage he denied himself as a boy. He loves the sensuality in your breath, not because it excites him, but because it haunts him. He cannot yet distinguish between attraction and projection. But you can. You must. This awareness is your power. Not to weaponize, but to witness. To hold with fierce compassion and unflinching truth. Because if he ever chooses to stop running, if he dares to sit in the ruins of his own ego and sift through the bones of what was never real, that is where intimacy begins. Not in fantasy, but in presence, in reckoning. Until then, remember this. When a man falls into your shadow, he is not falling in love. He is falling into himself through you. And as he continues to fall, the descent becomes more disorienting. He thinks he's chasing you, but he's chasing a fragment of himself that you awaken simply by being. You walk into a room and his breath catches, not because you're adorned in something striking, but because you carry an ancient familiarity. There's something in your gaze, in the cadence of your voice, in the stillness of your silence, that feels like home and hell all at once. To the unconscious man, you become both salvation and threat. Why? Because his soul senses what his mind cannot. You are the confrontation he has spent a lifetime avoiding. You embody the very chaos he's tried to control within himself. Your unpredictability, your emotional honesty, your refusal to shrink. You bring forth everything that dislodges his grip on superiority, on safety, on the masculine identity he's been taught to armor himself with. The more he tries to make sense of you, the more confused he becomes. His logic fails. His old tactics of conquest and certainty dissolve in your presence, because you aren't a puzzle to be solved. You are a force, a current, a storm wrapped in velvet. And he, for perhaps the first time, is powerless to intellectualize his way out of what he feels. Here's the paradox that torments him. He craves your energy, yet fears your depth. He wants your affection, yet flinches at your emotional transparency. He desires your softness, but cannot withstand the mirror of your strength, and so he oscillates. One moment, he's tender, attentive, even reverent. The next, he pulls back, cold, evasive, disoriented. He tells himself you're too much, when in truth, it's not you that overwhelms him. It's the pieces of himself you reflect back with terrifying accuracy. This is what it means to fall into a woman's shadow. Jung wrote that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And when a man enters an energetic orbit with a woman who has met her own darkness, who has made love to her sorrow, forgiven her rage, and danced with her wildness, he feels that, even if he cannot name it, especially if he cannot name it. Because such a woman is no longer asking to be saved. She is not molding herself to soothe. She is not afraid of his withdrawal, his confusion, his projections. She does not chase. She stands. And in her standing, she becomes the trigger. Not because she wounds him, but because she refuses to participate in the illusions he once called love. There's a particular moment, subtle, electric, unforgettable, when he realizes he cannot control the effect you have on him. He may never speak it aloud, but he feels it. The unease in his chest, the sudden silence after your laugh, the way he replays a simple sentence you said for days, trying to decipher the undercurrent. That's the moment his ego begins to split. That's when he steps closer to the edge of his unconscious. And make no mistake, he will either step forward into his work or retreat in panic. If he retreats, he may blame you. He may accuse you of manipulation, of being too emotional, too intense, too hard to read, but you must know these are not your burdens to carry. These are the cries of a man drowning in his own reflection, flailing to find air where there is only truth. If he steps forward, something remarkable happens. Not quickly, not loudly, but unmistakably. His eyes begin to soften, not with need, but with reverence. His voice no longer shakes when he speaks his truth. He stops performing, stops controlling. He listens more, fears less, begins to shed the layers of identity built on avoidance. This is when he truly sees you, not as a fantasy, not as a projection, but as a sovereign woman. Not a shadow to fall into, but a presence to rise beside. But until that moment, the man falling into your shadow is not capable of loving you. Not fully. He is still at war with himself. You may care for him. You may ache for him. But your power lies in your ability to hold your center, even as he sways. So many women dim their fire to make him stay. Don't. Let the fire burn. Let the mirror reflect. Let the chaos humble him. Because some men only awaken when the woman they projected upon refuses to become the container for their healing. He may not realize it yet, but the very qualities he's drawn to in you are the ones he's long abandoned in himself. Your emotional fluency, your intuitive knowing, the way you inhabit pain without needing to fix it, the quiet defiance in how you breathe through heartbreak without collapsing. These are not just traits to him. They are reminders, triggers, echoes of a voice he once silenced, of tears he never allowed himself to cry, of softness he was taught to bury under hardness. In your presence, he feels the call to something ancient and sacred. The feminine not as performance, but as archetype. He doesn't have language for it, but his body knows. His psyche trembles. He begins to unravel in slow, invisible ways. He gets quieter around you, not because he's bored, but because words betray him. Because your energy exposes how shallow his mask has become. He may start to contradict himself. One day wanting to protect you, the next pushing you away. He may become obsessed with understanding you, dissecting your moods, mapping your silences. But he's not searching for you. He's searching for himself through you. Because the shadow he falls into is not really yours. It is his. You are simply the mirror that dares to stay unbroken, that refuses to reflect only the parts he finds admirable. That is the danger of a conscious woman. You do not just show him his desires, you show him his wounds. He may try to shrink you, make you more palatable, more patient, less demanding, less divine. He may joke about your drama, your depth, your overthinking. Do not bend. This is not about your intensity, it is about his inability to hold it. If you silence yourself to soothe his discomfort, you will confirm his illusion. The feminine is only safe when controlled, only lovable when convenient, only worthy when fragile. But you were not made to be manageable. You were made to be medicine. And real medicine doesn't taste sweet. It burns. It purges. It pulls the sickness out by making it visible. That's why he resists you. That's why he both desires and resents you. You are not the woman he can fix, seduce, or forget. You are the one who awakens his sleeping parts. The boy who never grieved, the man who never knelt, the father he fears becoming. And nothing terrifies the masculine ego more than meeting the parts of itself it cannot dominate. He may intellectualize his feelings, create distance, distract himself with other pursuits, or even other women. Anything to avoid the terrifying simplicity of your gaze. But beneath every avoidance is a longing he cannot explain. To be seen without performance. To be loved without armor. to be held without fear of dissolving. And you, if you are wise, will not chase that longing in him. You will not explain your worth, justify your wildness, or ask for crumbs dressed as compromise. You will understand that when a man falls into your shadow, it is not your job to catch him. It is your task to remain rooted in your own becoming. Let him fall. Let him resist. Let him run. Because the ones meant to rise will eventually stop falling. And when they do, they will return. Not to reclaim you, but to meet you. On the other side of shadow is choice. Many men never get there. They remain in the maze of projection, chasing shadows, blaming women for the reflections they cannot own. But the few who do, they emerge transformed. Not perfect, not polished, but real. Humbled, awake, capable of presence. And when you stand before such a man, you will feel it. He will not seek to possess you. He will not try to solve you. He will sit in your storm without flinching. He will admire your fire without needing to extinguish it. He will choose you, not out of need, but out of knowing. Until then, keep becoming. Because the woman who has integrated her own shadow cannot be made small by a man who fears his. Some men never realize what they've fallen into until it's too late. Not the loss of a woman, but the loss of the part of themselves she mirrored. You may notice it in the smallest shifts. His tone when you speak truths too sharp. His sudden silence when your joy outshines his control. The way he accuses you of being too much when your expression no longer fits inside his comfort zone. It isn't your light that blinds him. It's the shadows it casts on his own soul. The feminine shadow, in Jungian terms, is not darkness in the sinister sense. It is depth. Raw, unfiltered emotional knowledge. It is the rage a woman carries after lifetimes of being minimized. It is the sorrow in her womb passed down through generations. It is the erotic mystery that can't be domesticated. It is the refusal to be simple. When a man begins to fall into that shadow, your shadow, it often starts with obsession. Not just with you, but with how you make him feel. Elated, disoriented, powerless, inspired. He cannot stop replaying the moments when your eyes held him longer than necessary, when your silence said more than your words, when your laughter disarmed his shame. But it's not romantic fascination. It's soul recognition. The part of him long exiled recognizing home in you. And yet, what begins as awe quickly turns into anxiety. He may not know why he's suddenly restless, why his routines feel sterile, why his usual bravado rings hollow, why the women he once found exciting now feel thin. He is being pulled inward by you. You are the psychic event, the feminine mirror, the initiatrix. And if he's unprepared, he'll resist not you, but the transformation you demand of him. Because to truly receive a woman in her full spectrum, her dark and light, her beauty and fury, her softness and spine, he must confront the woman within himself first, the inner anima. Jung said that a man's relationship with his inner feminine determines the quality of his relationships with women. Most men, tragically, are at war with her. They fear her because she feels, she weeps, she wants, she creates. And in patriarchal systems that punish male vulnerability, that inner feminine becomes a threat to his identity. So he buries her, mocks her, distrusts her. And when he meets you, a woman who has made peace with her own shadow, he doesn't know what to do with the force you carry. You remind him of what he has denied, and so he either worships you or wounds you. Often both. Because until a man reclaims his anima, he cannot meet you with consciousness. He will see you not as a sovereign being, but as an extension of his unmet needs. You will become his muse, his salvation, his madness, his scapegoat. He will try to drink from you what he refuses to source within himself. But you are not a well. You are wildfire. And if you try to be anything less, if you water yourself down to be digestible, if you mute your truth to be loved, you betray the very medicine your presence offers. You turn shadow into performance, and you sentence him to the same emotional shallowness he came to you to escape. So don't shrink. Let your mystery provoke him. Let your silence speak louder than your reassurance. Let your depth be inconvenient. And if he collapses under the weight of your reality, let him. Because a man who cannot stand inside your shadow will never protect your light. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. The feminine is not here to rescue the masculine. She is here to remember herself, fully, fiercely, without apology. And the men who are ready will not fear your shadow. They will enter it willingly, with reverence, with trembling hands. They will not seek to fix you. They will seek to know you. There's a point in every man's journey where he stands on the edge of himself, and you, unknowingly, have led him there. Not with seduction, not with sweetness, but with something far more dangerous: honesty. Your presence begins to unmask him. He finds himself saying things he's never said before, admitting fears he never thought he'd speak aloud, feeling things he spent a lifetime burying beneath logic and distraction. And he doesn't understand why. He thinks it's about you, your eyes, your voice, your energy. But it isn't about you. It's about the psychic architecture you activate in him. It's about the invitation he never expected, to confront the buried parts of his soul, the parts you reflect. He may joke more around you, try to lighten the air. He may tease or deflect, unable to meet the gravity in your gaze, or he may go quiet altogether. These are not signs of disinterest. These are signs of fracture. His carefully constructed ego is beginning to unravel, and your shadow is the chisel. When he is falling into your shadow, his moods shift like tides. One moment, he praises you as if you are divine. The next, he finds fault in the way you speak, the way you dress, the way you choose yourself. This is projection, classic Jungian transference. What he cannot face in himself, he begins to assign to you. Your independence becomes coldness. Your boundaries become punishment. Your emotional truth becomes drama. And yet, he keeps returning. Not to control you, but because he cannot stay away from the part of him you awaken. He begins to dream of you, not always romantically. Sometimes as an enemy, sometimes as a mother, sometimes as a goddess. You are not just in his thoughts, you are in his unconscious. And that is where the feminine shadow lives. If he's not yet individuated, if he hasn't made the descent into himself, he may try to contain you, to define you. He may demand to know where he stands with you. He may ask for promises before you're ready, or withdraw and say you're too much. What he's really saying is, you are too close to the part of me I've abandoned. In moments like this, you must remember, his confusion is not your chaos to calm. The woman in her power does not shrink to soothe a man's fragmentation. She becomes the mirror, sharp, unyielding, sacred. Not to hurt him, but to show him the truth. And the truth is, a man who is falling into your shadow is not just attracted to you. He is being undone by you. Your voice echoes in his inner monologue. Your absence hurts more than he expected. He begins to compare others to you. He revisits your conversations at night. It is not longing, It is confrontation. He is facing the fact that no surface-level connection will ever satisfy him again. This is the death of the false masculine. This is where the boy must die so the man can be born. But not every man chooses to walk through that fire. Some run from it. Some return to safer women. Women who don't challenge, who don't question, who don't reflect. And yet, even there, they are haunted. Not by you, but by what you force them to see. And so, they circle back, sometimes in whispers, sometimes in silence, sometimes only in dreams. Not because they love you, but because they saw themselves through you, and they want that mirror back, even if it burns. But you, woman of the shadow, are not a mirror to rent. You are the storm that breaks the illusion. You are the silence between words that reveals the lie. You are the ache they feel in their chest when they realize what truth tastes like, and how long they've starved without it. So do not apologize for his unraveling. You did not break him. You exposed the cracks, and only he can choose to seal them, or step through them into something whole. But if he does choose to step through, if he dares to walk barefoot into the cavern of himself, it is because you, unknowingly, became his guide. Not through instruction, but through embodiment. The feminine shadow doesn't beg, doesn't convince, doesn't teach. She simply is. Radiant, unsettling, magnetic in a refusal to diminish. When a man begins to see that her power does not come from dominance, but from rooted stillness, he starts to feel his own foundation shake. At first, he may think he's falling in love, but what he's really falling into is awareness. This awareness is not sweet. It is not warm. It does not stroke his ego. It dismantles it. It brings to light every place where he has relied on performance, validation, and control to feel masculine. It reveals the hollowness beneath his achievements, the fear beneath his charm, the grief behind his strength. And you, the woman who never chased, who never demanded, become the catalyst for a confrontation that was long overdue. He may feel like you've bewitched him. That's the language men often use when they encounter a woman who makes them feel. But you've cast no spell. What you've done is awaken the Anima, the feminine soul image within him. Jung taught that every man carries this within, often buried beneath decades of repression, sarcasm, and rationality. You didn't enter his psyche. You summoned what was already there. And now, it wants out. He starts to feel things he's never allowed. Vulnerability, insecurity, longing without logic. He may cry without understanding why. He may feel rage and tenderness in the same breath. He may remember childhood moments with a clarity that stuns him. This is not about you. Yet it is all because of you. You are the bridge and the test. The woman who carries her shadow becomes a living initiation. She doesn't just attract men, she exposes them. She doesn't just inspire them, she unsettles them. And in doing so, she reveals who is ready for depth and who is only performing it. You'll know when he's fallen too deep. He'll start speaking in riddles. He'll text you things that sound like confessions. He'll say he's confused, overwhelmed, not himself. He may even lash out, blame you for his unrest. And all of it, every word, is a mirror of a man meeting his unconscious and being terrified by what it shows him. But here's the truth. If he can sit in that discomfort, if he can resist the urge to escape, if he can feel without needing to fix, he is beginning the process of integration. He is no longer running from his shadow. He is learning to name it. And that, woman of depth, is the alchemy. You didn't need to be softer. You didn't need to be smaller. You didn't need to be sweeter. You simply needed to be whole. And in your wholeness, you revealed his fragmentation. Not to hurt him, but to invite him forward. This is where love begins. Not with comfort, but with truth. A man who falls into your shadow and chooses to rise instead of retreat is not just a partner. He is a seeker. He is a man who is finally ready to become himself. But he must choose it. And so must you. Because your power does not lie in being chosen. Your power lies in being the flame, steady, luminous, uncompromising, whether he is brave enough to approach it or not. And so the test becomes not his alone, but yours. Will you dim the fire to make him feel safe? Will you shrink your vastness to preserve his comfort? Will you abandon your own knowing to soothe his ego's collapse? Or will you let the crucible burn? Because make no mistake, this is the crucible. Not of romance, but of rebirth. The threshold between who he thought he was and who he might become. And you, whether you ask for it or not, stand at the center of that threshold. Not as his salvation, but as his reflection. A woman who carries her own shadow does not chase validation. She does not mold herself into palatable shapes. She does not explain her worth in digestible syllables. She lives, breathes, and burns in the fullness of her contradictions. And that, more than anything, terrifies the man whose self-image depends on control. He may call you too much. He may say you're intense, dramatic, chaotic. But what he's really saying is, you make me feel things I've buried my entire life. He may retreat into silence, not because you've done anything wrong, but because he's trying to hold together the fractured image of the man he believed he had to be. You must let him, because in that silence a deeper voice may emerge, one not shaped by culture or childhood, but by soul. And if he listens closely, if he stays long enough in the heat of what you've stirred, he may hear it whisper, let go. There's more of you. That's when the shift begins. He stops needing you to affirm him. He stops trying to possess you. He begins instead to face the parts of himself he once fled. The wounded boy, the ashamed teenager, the performance-addicted man. You see it in his eyes, the softening, the reckoning, the quiet ache of someone who is finally grieving their armor. And you do not interfere, because you know this pain is sacred. He may return with a new language, not flowery or perfect, but real. He may say, I was afraid. He may say, you showed me something I wasn't ready to see. He may say, I want to try again, and not to win you, but to meet you. Then, and only then, does the possibility of true union emerge. Not fusion, not dependency, but individuation alongside intimacy. Carl Jung said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. That transformation is not always gentle. Sometimes it's a detonation. But the woman who knows her own darkness does not fear fire. She was forged in it. So let him fall into your shadow. Let him stumble through projection and possessiveness and confusion. Let him meet the parts of himself he disowned long before he met you. And if he rises, eyes clearer, voice steadier, presence deeper, you will know. Not because he tells you he's ready, but because you feel it in your bones. He no longer seeks to own the flame. He seeks to tend it with you. And you, sovereign, luminous, whole, will decide if you wish to let him stay. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase. She chooses.